Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this very special episode of Hi-Ho Silver with Bill Holter. Of course, you can find his work at jsmindset.com. Mr. Bill Holter, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back, JC.
It's always a pleasure having you on, Bill. And I got to tell you, as we were entering this weird time, there's more and more people getting interested in physical gold and silver. So I'm so happy to have you on and have these conversations, because I think at this point, education is absolutely key. We're entering this weird period that Cliff High had predicted way back when in his Webbot report, and he had called it panic to own. And we're starting to see some tight inventories right now, and we're seeing a lot of stress in the system. So today we're going to dive into all of that. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here on this live interactive show. And if you do have questions for Bill and you're new at this, please put them in high caps now in the live stream, and we'll try to get to them as we can here during the show. So Bill, let me bring on JS Mindset here, your collaboration with Jim Sinclair. This weekend, you guys put out a audio call for the members here, and your title was Inflection Point. Can you recap that a little bit here for the audience and let them know the discussion that you guys had and how it really relates to maybe the truth coming out, not just in gold and silver, but in everything else?
Right. We collectively feel that we're close to an inflection point from the standpoint of it looks like the lies that have been foisted upon us have gotten bigger and bigger, and they're not credible anymore. They're not believable. And it's not just any one area, but it seems to us that, if just look at the real economy, for instance, they're talking about, car sales are doing this. Well, go to a car parking lot, a car dealer. They don't have any cars, and it's not because people are buying cars like crazy. It's because they don't have any cars to sell. The supply chain is breaking down in so many different areas. Look at the inflation in almost anything and everything. And at the same time, you've got the White House saying, well, the reason prices are going up is because the economy is so great and everybody's buying stuff. Well, no, the economy's not so great. They're not buying stuff. What they're doing is people are preparing for a collapse. And you are seeing some hoarding. As a matter of fact, China just today told their people, make sure you stock up on food for winter. So why they're saying that, I'm not sure, but hey, it can't be good.
No, it can be good. And I made this little poster earlier today, and I was referring to, of course, Jaws, the movie, when he says, we're going to need a bigger boat. You're going to need a bigger freezer if you're going to have to hoard here and compete with the Chinese who are hoarding for food. And of course, this is what's going on here. I love what you just said about the inflation too. We had Janet Yellen for the last couple of months telling us, oh, there's no inflation, don't worry. And then she changed her tune. Well, okay, there's inflation, but it's transitory. It's just transitory. And now, of course, we're seeing that is absolutely not the case. Now, in that weekend call again, maybe go back to that here, Bill. You mentioned this inflection point in the truth also. Watch your words here, because there's a few maybe topics of truth that are very difficult here for our YouTube censors. But what did you mean by the truth coming out? It's not just about the financial system.
Well, no, it's not just about the financial system. Let's talk about the vaccine for a moment. If you look, and I just saw numbers this morning in Europe, there's like 25,000 VAERS deaths, and I forget what the number was. It was like something like 2 million adverse reactions. What I'm getting at here is probably everybody listening or watching this knows somebody who has died or had an adverse reaction. That's never happened before when a vaccine was brought out. And I personally, I'm approaching 10 now as far as people who have either died or had an adverse reaction that I know personally. So what I'm getting at is, if you're someone who believes your own eyes over what CNN or MSNBC or the White House press secretary says, if you believe your own eyes, there's a real problem. I mean, there's professional athletes now that have had real problems.
Mm-hmm.
Japan apparently just went to ivermectin last week, and now it looks like their cases are almost immediately going, they're collapsing.
Right.
So I think, again, we believe that we're at an inflection point in many, many different areas, but this is one, very, very important area because it involves people's lives, life or death, or the quality of life going forward.
Mm-hmm. Do you think at this point, this inflection point in the truth is making people consider their finances also? Where's that leap between, hey, the news media is lying to me, hey, this whole passport and papers thing doesn't
Right.
make any sense, to, hey, what do I do with my IRAs or my RRSPs here in Canada? Are we making that point now? At least I know the big sovereign wealth funds and the big institutional houses have already been doing that this year, but are we close to the regular man on the street making that connection? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's happening. And I can see in my own personal business, taking orders for gold and silver, I've gotten a tremendous amount of calls just in the last 4 weeks where people say, I want to buy gold, I want to buy silver, I want to buy it today, and I want to wire you the money today. I want the money out of my bank account. So yes, the average person in the street is sensing there's something really wrong. And I mean, if you want to call it a shadow bank run or something in the background, that's what's happening, is people are trying to get their money out of the banking system as quickly as they can.
Right. And I'm just trying to put your link in the chat here. For some reason, my screen is frozen here as we're doing this live show. Of course, there's always, oh, there you go. It's on the screen. Okay. We have a little bit of a delay here in our connection. We do have thunderstorms here today. But folks, I brought this form up here for a reason. Bill and I thought it would be more appropriate for you guys to fill out this contact form when you're trying to buy silver and to connect and support Bill in his work also as a broker of precious metals investments here with Miles Franklin. So that link now is beyondmystic.net/hi-ho silver. And of course, you might never know, Bill might pick up the phone and call you right back here to fill these orders. But of course, he's supported here by the other brokers and Andy Scheckman here on this form. So do please check that out. But going back to what you were saying about your friends and people calling you up, Bill, you mentioned something that's important there. They're hurrying to get rid of their dollars, right? They're like, I want to transfer this right away. How new is that? Is that a month old? Is that 2 months old? Is that a week old? And what do you think is driving that all of a sudden for them?
Well, it's happened over the last 2 years, but over the last 1 month, it's happening very often. It's almost like 2 out of every 3 new customers that I'm in contact with have the same mindset. I want to buy the metal today. I want the order done today. Send me the wire instructions. I want to wire the money today. I want it out of my bank account. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that before, but I've never seen it in this volume. I've never seen it with this many people in such a short period of time. And I'm not really sure what's pushing it, but like I said, or like we talked about over the weekend, inflection point, it could be that the mindset of people, people are waking up. They know they're being lied to in so many different areas. And, one important area is your finances. And I think people are looking at the other areas that they're being lied to and, projecting it toward their own finances, and they want to try to protect themselves.
Right. Because we've seen in other countries right now, like Lebanon a couple of weeks ago, shuttering their banks, people like outside in big lineups, throwing rocks at the banks, trying to get their deposits out. But we haven't really seen that in North America yet. And for the most part, I see a lot of the people here online saying, oh, that won't happen here. We're strong in North America. That wouldn't happen here. And I keep saying, don't forget, guys, the bail-in legislation, at least here in Canada, was signed into law in 2012. They're ready for this anytime they need. Can you explain that a little bit, what these bail-in legislations really mean for the people who might not have heard the term and who think that, that just happens in those war-torn countries as opposed to here in the first world countries?
Yeah, I think it was signed into legislation via the FDIC in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, what that basically means is, and you can go back, there's a real case example of that. You can go back to, I believe it was Cyprus back in 2013 or 14 during the Greek crisis. Basically, people went to bed on a Friday and they woke up on a Monday and they had 30% on Monday of what they had on Friday. And what happened was that 70% that was taken out of their account, that went to the banks to prevent them from collapsing and basically closing their doors. Mm-hmm. So the legislation with the FDIC basically states just that. There will not be bail-ins of banks like there was back in 2008. I'm sorry, bailouts of banks like there was in 2008. There will be bail-ins of the customers. Mm-hmm. And when you put money in the bank, it's no longer your money. You are lending that money to the bank. It's the bank's money. So if they go down, it's not your money.
Right.
Interesting. And I forget the post she's proposed. I think it's the what is it? The Secretary of Secretary of Currency or something. Omarova is her name. And basically what she's talking about is she wants to put all the power into the Federal Reserve. She's a complete socialist and has come right out and said in a 69 page paper that she wants to take all the deposits from the commercial banks and have them held at the Fed. And what that would do is it would literally destroy the banking system. And that's the purpose. That's what's being done here across the board. These things that are being done on purpose. I mean, think about it. What was the first thing that Joe Biden signed when he took office? The very, very first thing was stopping the pipeline from Canada. Mm-hmm. Now we were self-sufficient with energy. Now we're begging OPEC to start producing more because we're not energy independent. It's just these programs, these plans that they're putting forth, they're not mistakes. It's the plan. The plan is to implode the United States. And if you implode the United States, that implodes the entire Western civilization. Mm-hmm. It's not a mistake.
Right. And I think this is where a lot of people make the mistake. They think, it's just like stupid politicians and, maybe we can correct this. No, it's a coordinated plan. And it ties into everything else we started at the beginning of the show with this mandate.
Well, JC, you can also, look at these vaccine mandates. Mm-hmm. What are those for?
It's for your health, Bill. Don't worry. Just messing with you.
Well, no. If you look at the statistics of vaccinated versus unvaccinated, how many people are getting sick? Let's just say that the vaccine makes no difference. You're just as likely to get COVID. You're just as likely to get sick and die. The statistics look the same. But doing a vaccine mandate where you have millions of people across the country who just say, no, I'm not taking the vaccine. So they lose their job. Now, what was it yesterday? 26 fire departments in New York City are closed.
Mm-hmm.
They had to close because the workers, the employees said, no, we're not taking it. What this is going to do is it's going to implode the real economy. It's going to implode services. It's going to implode our way of life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I posted this earlier today on Twitter, and of course they're talking about how every year there's millions of people who die from a lot of other causes.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the economy isn't shut down for that, and people aren't forced to take experimental drugs for that. And of course, we're not curtailed in our freedoms for that either, which is what the passport here is doing in a lot of cases. And so it's fascinating to watch, and no wonder why, as you say, we're at this inflection point where people are saying they're getting pushed so hard that even the most asleep people are saying, hey, wait a second here. This doesn't make sense anymore. I was talking to a restaurateur just this last weekend, and this guy was, you could call him regular Joe Blow, right? Very nice guy, hard working ethics and all of that. And I was having a conversation with him. I was telling him, like, I'm confused. How come they're lying to me about this? They're lying to me about that. I was trying to have that conversation as opposed to tell him why the whole thing was a scam, right? I was just telling him, hey, I'm frustrated. It seems like everybody's lying to me. And then he came up to me and says, Jean-Claude, it's funny you say that. He says, I have a restaurant here. And he says, for the last month now, everybody inside the restaurant technically are all protected because I'm looking at the door if they have their passport, right? He says, but why hasn't the government lifted the limitations on my seating? I'm still at 30 or 40% capacity, even though everybody's supposed to be safe. So he says, This has nothing to do with being safe or healthy. They're still trying to quash me from doing my business. I'm like, yes, keep going. You're on the right track, right? So maybe it's these people now. You go ahead, Bill.
I was just going to say, it's a plan. It's planned. Yeah. This is the planned demolition of the Western economies.
Mm. Wow. At any rate, maybe this is why some of those people also, I have friends who are police officers here in Canada who are doing the same thing that we're seeing in the States here, walking out and saying no to these mandates. And it's putting a lot of pressure on those police forces here in Canada too. But some of these people, some of them are my friends personally, are all like, hey, we're losing our careers about this. We don't trust the government anymore. Who's that guy, JC, again? Where do we buy silver? We want to take our money out of the system. Right. So they're making that leap. So that's what we're seeing on mass here. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly.
What are your thoughts, you and the boys here, on the weekly call here at JS Mindset? Are you expecting any number for gold or silver here by the end of the year? There are some analysts who are predicting that perhaps China would be the first to revalue gold in an effort to perhaps get underneath this bond debacle they have with Evergrande. What are you and the boys talking about here over the weekend and amongst yourself? Do you see movement here before New Year's?
It's hard to say from a timing standpoint, but I'm going to say it was 2 months ago when Evergrande first came about, and we were understanding that it's big. This is not a small problem. Jim, right off the bat, said that they really have only 3 things that they can do. They can allow the bankruptcy. They can monetize it like we have in the West. That's what we've done to the entire system, is monetize it. Or they can increase the price of gold. And why would they do that? The reason being, I can show you on the back of a napkin that China, in fact, has 25,000 tons of gold. So any balance sheet problem would be fixed overnight by marking the price of gold up. Mm-hmm. Theoretically, other central banks would be helped also, but think about the U.S. Treasury. We've not had an audit of our gold since the 1950s, and it's suspect. Why would that be? And the obvious answer is because we probably don't have the gold that we say we have. So, yeah, China could mark it up. I still believe that there will be a failure to deliver moment. And when that happens, all bets are off, and the cash markets will price everything. They'll price gold, they'll price silver, and we will get to the point probably very, very quickly where on the chart, gold and silver will be unobtainium. In other words,
Right.
you're not going to be able to get it.
Right.
On the periodic chart, they'll be
Sorry, I didn't mean to
under
interrupt you. We have a
unobtainium.
little bit of a lag. Keep going,
Oh,
Bill.
no
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just saying that once there's a failure to deliver, then mankind, even animals are the same way. But when you tell someone they can't have something, they want it even more. So after a failure to deliver moment, it's just like toilet paper in the store. You could have had, 200 rolls of toilet paper when COVID started, and you found out the toilet paper was wiped out in the stores. You wanted toilet paper. Whether you're going to use it or not, you wanted it. That's human nature. And what I'm getting at is after a failure to deliver, and it's going to happen, when the failure to deliver happens, then demand, which created the failure to deliver, will double, triple. It'll go tenfold. Everybody's going to want gold and silver once they can't have it.
Right. Well,
and that will drive price to the moon.
Let's get into that, because you and I have been saying this to our friends and our families and to everybody who wanted to listen for a number of years now. And we often get back the reproach, oh, JC, it never happens. The sky is never falling. They always deliver, or they always kick the can down the road. In my last interview, The Silver Woo with Cliff High and David Morgan, I asked both individuals why this time is different. And they both had a different take, but they both basically came to the same conclusion that yes, absolutely, this time now is different. Let me ask you that same question. What do you see in the environment that tells you that this time it's different, and the ability for this government to kick the can down the road, or for the COMEX to keep the can down the road here, is very limited? What would you say?
Well, because the lies are getting too big. And once you tell one lie, you have to tell another lie and another lie and another lie to cover up for the first one. And each lie has to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And we're at the point now where people can see with their own eyes that what they're being told is not true. And I'm just going to tell you that, the things that us whack job conspiracy theorists that were never right talked about for all these years, it's happening before your very own eyes. So if you can't see it, then I'm sorry.
Yeah, you don't need to apologize. I think we're all too long in the tooth now to apologize. We don't need to say "I told you so," but we're too tired to say, to apologize.
Right.
We
Exactly.
Yeah. Question on the screen here. Let's go back to, we were talking about the bank bail-ins as opposed to the bailout. Susan is asking here, and I'm not sure but perhaps you can answer, at least for the States. I'm not sure if the legislation is different in Canada, but she's asking, what about credit unions? Are customer members protecting there from bail-ins as opposed to those regular chartered banks? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know about Canada. I'll talk about credit unions here in the U.S. Credit unions, by and large, do not invest in derivatives, so they will not be part of the first hit. However, credit unions, they have treasury bills, notes, bonds, etc. And if you've got a credit implosion happening, if you think that you're going to be protected in a credit union, you're only fooling yourself, because it's part of the system, and this is going to be system-wide. There's not going to be any place to hide in the system. You have to get out of the system.
Right. And you and Jim have been saying that forever here on JS Mindset, the get out of the system. Right. Going back to this credit union here too, what about the concept of credit default swaps? Where one bank insures another bank, and all of that. Do the credit unions get stuck in that same type of cascading effect also in a crisis?
Well, yeah, because who are their counterparties? They do business with other banks in the system. So if one of their counterparties goes belly up, how are they going to get paid on that promise?
Right.
That's what the problem is. The whole system is nothing but promises. And promises are made to be broken, and promises are broken. The problem with the world today, and this goes back to what the cause of 2008 to begin with, was too much debt. And what did they do to fix the problem? They poured on more and more debt. They created more and more money. They didn't do anything to fix the problem. What they did was they monetized the problem and made it that much bigger. So what was a huge problem in 2008 is now a double or triple huge problem in 2021.
Okay. And let's go back to the COMEX here. You talked about this event where we would come to this point of failure to deliver. Now, the COMEX has and other institutions have been using these, how do you call them? Not RFPs, but replacement for physicals. What am I looking for, Bill? What am I looking for, Bill? Something for physical.
Yeah,
exchange for physical. Right.
Exchange for physical.
Right. And so
there's no way to track those. The thing is, the exchange for physicals are contracts that are shifted over to London and supposedly delivered on. And there's no way to track whether they're being delivered on or not. But without that, there's zero way that what the COMEX actually has would be able to, supply all of those deliveries. It used to be, if you go back 4 or 5 years ago, it used to be very little actually went for delivery. But I mean, this month alone in gold, what was it, 57 or 58 tons of gold in 1 month? I mean, the numbers, there's just no way that they can continue to supply the metal, because the metal doesn't exist to make it to delivery. And think about this, JC. 3 weeks ago, we had a big dump in the price of silver. It was down at one point over $1. Yeah. And that was caused by a sale that lasted for 30 minutes of $1.6 billion worth of silver. Well, that was 10% of global production in 30 minutes. First off, there's no hoard that big. That's roughly 500 million ounces. There's no hoard that big of silver. And if there was, the trader who actually pushed a button and did that trade wouldn't have a job at the end of the day, because if you're told we need to sell 500 million ounces of silver, you do it quietly. You do it like a ninja. You try to get the sale off without anybody knowing that you're selling it. And what they did in that 30 minutes was try to create price. You got the same thing today. Silver was down, 50 or 60 cents. Yeah. It's all done with paper. None of it is done with physical metal.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And you were talking about people standing for delivery here, and the last time you were on the show, that was increasing to levels that we hadn't seen before. Andy Sheckman was saying the same thing here on the show also. What's happening now to the inventory? You're sourcing physical gold and silver for your clients. I'm seeing here in Canada, the Royal Canadian Mints are like 2 weeks out now to deliver maples, whereas usually they would deliver almost the same day to their authorized sellers. What's going on with inventory right now? What are you seeing? Is there an indication here that perhaps there's problems behind the scene?
Well, the U.S. Mint, again this week, delivered nothing. They've been delivering less over the last, call it 2 months, certainly less than average. And I think 5 of the 8 weeks, they didn't deliver anything. The Austrian Mint has said that they can't source blanks. That's what they use. That's the silver blanks that are stamped and created to create the coin. They're saying that they can't source the blanks. Go back earlier in this year, the U.S. Mint came right out and used the word, and I think it was back in March during the silver squeeze. They actually used the words, global silver shortage. And then they came back out 3 or 4 days later and they said, oh, no. There's not a silver shortage. There's just a blank shortage. Well, really? I mean, even a third grader could figure that one out.
Right.
I will also mention that junk silver has become very, very scarce. I mean, I've done some extremely large orders, and at this point, we're lucky to find 10 or 20 bags at a time. And I mean, people, I've had people in the past buy, 100, 200, 300 bags of silver in one shot. And junk silver, I'm going to tell you, I believe it to be the canary in the coal mine because it hasn't been minted since 1964. So whenever shortages are going to happen, they always show up first in junk silver. And it's been like pulling teeth for the last 2 or 3 months to try to find junk silver. And the premiums have gone, premiums have jumped back, I want to say, in the summertime. I think you could buy Eagles for maybe $6.75, $7 over spot. You're every bit of $10 over spot now.
Wow, that's fascinating. Same thing here in Canada. Most of the guys here, they'll have maybe a roll of dimes, and that's about it. There's nothing left. And I'm seeing crazy prices on eBay for the stuff here, the pre-68 silver here in Canada. It's absolutely impossible to find.
Well, if you think these prices are crazy, just wait a while. Well, the definition of crazy is in the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, we might be there very close again here in this WebBot data. This is a couple of years back, and of course, it seems that the whole market was delayed a couple of years here in timing. But when you read some of those key temporal markers that were happening, the food shortages, the riots, and all this stuff, we're in this time period now. And in that data report, they said November and December, and that people by the end of December or Christmas, presumably, they would be having conversations of how to distribute generational wealth down the line. These are the people who were crazy enough to buy silver, who all the neighbors thought they were crazy way back when. Suddenly they weren't so crazy. So yeah, this time is different, as you say, Bill. We're seeing a lot of, I gotta say, trepidation, nervousness. There's a lot of nerves in the air. I think in the last show with Andy, he talked about this weird electricity in the air or energy in the air, like the herd is being spooked. Right. Can you speak to that? What are your thoughts? What's Jim saying? He's been at this for a long time and he's got his fingers on the pulse. What is he saying about this weird electricity in the air?
I think that's absolutely right, and that's what I mentioned over the last month. I've seen more people that I've never spoken to before in my life contact me and tell me, I want to buy gold, I want to buy silver, I want to do it today, and I want to wire the money today. I want it out of my account. There is whatever, Andy calls it electricity. I've called it, moving the herd. When I don't know if you've ever seen a stampede, but when a herd stampedes, you might see a few of them start to move and then a few more start to move, and then all of a sudden they explode. And I think that's the process that we're in right now, is that we're probably moments away from a stampede.
Yeah, you don't want to be caught in the stampede. So Bill, anything else?
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, here's the thing. You don't want to be caught in a stampede. What you want to do is you want to go about your business. If you want to prepare, if you're believing that you need to prepare for whatever's coming, you want to do it while you can prepare calmly, where you can prepare incognito, if you will. So you go into a store and you fill up a grocery cart with a whole bunch of stuff that you want. And then you do it the next day and you do it the next day, but you're not doing it with 500 other people that are fighting and trying to beat each other over the head for a can of beans. The whole idea is to do it while you can do it. You can do it now. And just think back 2 years ago, what life was like 2 years ago versus what it is today. And it's night and day. If I was on your show 2 years ago and I told you 2 years from now, there would be vaccine mandates. There would be, people losing their jobs because of that. Auto auto dealers would have no cars. Premiums on Eagles, Silver Eagles, would be $10 over spot. I mean, just go right on down the line. Just crazy thing after crazy thing. All these executive orders that have been done, the riots that occurred, and they're reported as peaceful protests. If I told you all of the things that have been going on for the last year to 2 years, I would have been branded as an absolute complete lunatic. Lock him up. But in fact, all of that stuff has happened. It is happening, and they're cranking the pressure up more every single day. Every day that you wake up, there's something even more stupid than the day before.
Yeah. It's absolutely mind-boggling.
And
people
let me replace the word stupid with evil. Because that's what it is. This is not stupidity. This is a plan, and it is evil.
Yeah. Cliff was losing patience Saturday on his last video. Woo up. He was telling people, wake the hell up, guys. We're at war. This is a plan, and you need to either move, lead, follow, or get the F out of the way. It's a dangerous time. I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing. Exactly. It's very stressful for everyone right now. Oop, I just gotta. Are you back? You seem to be frozen, Bill.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Okay, you're back.
Can you hear me?
Okay, there you are. There you
okay.
are. Macbeth is asking, hey, Bill, was your back surgery helpful? You seem to be doing better.
Well, my back surgery was mandatory because I broke it. My hip surgery wasn't mandatory, but I walked around on a broken hip for 9 years that I didn't know was broken. I knew it hurt like hell, and a doctor took x-rays and said everything looks good. And that was about 4 years into it. And it was obvious that they switched the x-rays, because when I went to another doctor, my wife went in for her knee. I said, make an appointment for me. And they took x-rays, and I see you got the video up there. The doctor sat down, looked at the x-rays, and started laughing. And I'm thinking, well, this can't be good if he's laughing. And he asked me, first question he asked was, how old were you when you broke your hip? And I said, well, I didn't break my hip. He goes, well, yeah, you did. I'll show you. And it was, I had a mushroomed, the ball joint was completely mushroomed. So, yeah, I feel it's unbelievable with all the things I did, all the sports I played, all the kickboxing and martial arts I did, falling off of horses. I mean, you name it, car wrecks. By rights, I should feel like crap every day, but I feel good. I wake up every day, and I 20 years ago, I could only have hoped to feel as good as I do now. So thank you for asking.
You're welcome. And Bill, what I love about you is it's all up here. If you have the mindset, the body follows. And of course, just watching your video here, we could tell you're still very much in the body to follow. So congratulations on that, Bill. You're absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
I'm looking for other questions here. Bill, will any of the resets actually hold together, even if it takes 4 times to try? Okay, let's talk about that. You and Jim are talking about multiple resets here. Maybe explain that first for the new audience who haven't heard that before, too. And how do you see that?
Yeah, we don't think there will be.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we don't think there will be multiple resets. We think there will be 2 resets. The first reset will be man-made, and that will allow those who are currently in power to retain power, but it won't really change anything. And confidence will break. It might break in a week or 2 weeks, a couple months. Certainly, it won't last more than a year. Then there will be Mother Nature's reset, where all the derivatives will have blown up, and what prices markets will be the cash markets.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the financial engineering that's being used today to price markets, and this is one of the things that Omarova was saying, that she wanted the Fed to have the ability to short stocks, to short markets in case prices did something they didn't want them to do. So she's coming right out and saying, we want to manipulate markets.
Right.
Well, those products are going to break, and they're going to break because of counterparties. Counterparties are going to bankrupt. And like Jim says, what good is a contract, or what is a contract worth
When it can't perform?
that cannot perform? It's worth zero.
Mm-hmm.
So once people figure out that all this so-called protection they have through credit default swaps, or you name it, once they figure out that those are worth zero, then it's going to be a cash and carry markets, and those will be real prices, and that will be Mother Nature's reset.
Okay. Great explanation. Thank you for that. Because again, there's a brand new people coming in every day here. And as we can see from CNN, they barely make 1 million viewers a week now. And this little channel is doing better than that. So people are leaving mainstream media to come here for these alternate sources. So big thank you.
Hey, JC, I just saw
I
just saw a question go by. Somebody asking, gaze into your crystal ball, what's your price target or objective or whatever for next year? And I'm just going to say that is the wrong way to think. You shouldn't think about, what's the price going to be? The bottom line is, if you own gold and you own silver, you're going to have wealth, and wealth is going to accrue to that. Is the price $2,200 on gold? Is it $2,500? Is it $250,000? Is it 2.5 million? There's no way to know. But what you do know is, if you own gold and silver, you're out of a system that's going to collapse. If you look at the Weimar Germany, it only took 5 years to go from 170 to 87 trillion. So, I mean, what kind of number is 87 trillion? It's a meaningless number. It's basically pure wealth. And that's what owning gold and silver is. It's pure wealth. And it's pure wealth out of the system that cannot bankrupt.
I love that, because you just said, hey, it's the wrong question to ask. How much is it going to be? I love your explanation. And I always say to people too, when they say, hey, I'm buying silver, I also say that's kind of the wrong phrase. What you're actually doing is exchanging the IOU for the actual money, right? So you're not buying anything. You're exchanging the paper for the real thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love it. Ariel is asking you here, do you think they'll try to confiscate precious metals like they did in the 30s? What are the chances of that this time around, Bill?
I don't see it happening with silver. There's just not enough. There's not enough, if you want to call it, in current pricing, there's not enough money to be had. It's very possible. If we go full-blown socialism, I think the odds are extremely high. And Jim has mentioned that if you're in the US or whatever country you're in, you want the coin of that country, because that would probably be the last coin to be confiscated. For instance, if you're in the US, you wouldn't want bars or generics or foreign sovereigns. You'd want eagles. And then go on one step further, you'd want to own the numismatics, the Liberties and St. Gaudens, the pre-1933 gold, because those are considered collectibles. And you could have 1,000 $20 round pieces. And yeah, that's a lot. I mean, you're talking, $2 million worth of metal, but you wouldn't be considered a hoarder. It would be considered your coin collection. And if you go back to 2010, when gold was $1,000 an ounce and eagles were roughly 1,100, there was fear of confiscation, that Obama was going to start up a confiscation like FDR did.
Right.
And dealers were buying MS-63 libs back from people at $1,800 a coin. So what I'm getting at is the premium on the pre-33 gold is definitely affected by the mindset of whether or not there's going to be confiscation. So if you're worried about confiscation, and it's a reasonable worry, and I think the value is still certainly there, because the premiums are not that much higher over eagles. I personally have swapped out all of my gold and into the Liberties and St. Gaudens.
Okay. Well, that's
Because
good
your
advice.
downside is the price of gold.
Right.
Your downside is the price of gold. You're not paying that much premium right now, and your upside could be, it's you can't measure it. You can't measure the upside if there was a confiscation.
And I like what you're saying too about keeping, as best you can here, legal tender coins too, to try to avoid some of that confiscation. How can a country confiscate their own legal tender? It makes it a little bit more difficult for them to do so. Yeah.
It's harder. It's definitely harder.
Yeah. Not impossible. We're seeing some crazy shit here going down, Bill, but harder at least. Yeah. Okay. Bill, we're almost at the end of the show here. Let the audience know what they can find here at jsmindset.com with the premium subscription. I'm logged in here so you guys can see this is the weekly call that those guys put out, and also all of the writings. So let them know here what to expect as a member.
There is a free side. There's a subscription side, and sometime in the near future, we've been working on this for a while, and in the near future, we're going to become 100% subscription. And I am happy to announce we are, and this has taken a long time because it's 13 years worth of posts. We are going to be selling a compendium, it will include every post, both public and subscription. It'll be everything that's been on JS Mindset going back to September of 2008.
Wow.
So the idea behind this is every single day you can see that people they're trying to rewrite history. They're tearing statues down, they're rewriting history books. This is real-time history. It was commentary made at the time, so it's real time, and we believe it to all be truth, as close as we can find. We always want to be truthful, so you can look at this as a time capsule, and I hope that a bunch of these surface in 20, 30, 50, 100 years. They're little USB, plug them into your computer. There's about the amount of information would take up 20 disks. And wow. People are going to ask in the future, how in the world, what the hell happened? Just like we ask, how did that ever happen in Germany? Well, This is a real-time play-by-play, if you will, of what happened. And for children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, when they ask what happened, this is what happened, because, basically, we've commented on it all along. And this is, we're going to sell them for $199. And I hope people buy them and give them away to their children, grandchildren. Literally, they're going to be time capsules in the future.
And how far are you away from putting that online, Bill?
We're probably 2 weeks from completion of the manufacturing, and I think maybe this coming weekend we'll have a pre-orders. We'll have a way to pre-order. It'll be on our website. I'll probably send it. I'll send it to Andy to put up on Miles Franklin, and send it to other friends with websites.
Okay.
And pre-order.
Yeah, and if you can, I always look out for my folks here. If we can maybe do a little coupon code for the Beyond Mystic audience too, I'll be happy to post those and distribute that to my
we could do that.
contact list as well. Okay, very good. Well, as soon as you're ready, Bill, with that, let us know. Put us an email, and maybe we'll do another show to launch that. And that makes a great Christmas present here for people, because, of course, everybody's telling you buy your Christmas presents now because they won't be in the store in a month or two from now. So this is a great Christmas present to buy your kids. Absolutely. All right, folks, that's it for today here. Please do remember to go like, share, and subscribe here on jsmindset.com. Amazing information there to find. And if you're looking for physical physical gold and silver here, and you want to support our friend Bill here as a broker for Miles Franklin, please do so here at beyondmystic.net/hi-ho silver. And of course, that's Bill's horse there, Principe. We didn't get to talk about that or shoot a video today, but maybe in the next one, we'll give you an update on Principe. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here today. That was Hi-Ho Silver with Mr. Bill Holter. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.